From the dawn of humanity, to the empires of tomorrow. This is Timeline Voyage. The year is 1200 BCE. Across the eastern Mediterranean, the Bronze Age world thrives. Palaces gleam with painted frescoes, their storerooms filled with oil, wine, and grain. Ships crowd the harbors of Ugarit and Byblos, their sails heavy with copper from Cyprus and tin from distant mountains. Caravans wind across deserts, carrying ivory from Africa, lapis from Afghanistan, and spices from Arabia. This is a world tied together by trade and diplomacy. Kings send letters to one another, inscribed on clay tablets in Akkadian, the international language of the day. Egypt, Babylon, and Hutti address each other as brother, bound by treaties, marriage alliances, and the exchange of gifts. In Greece, Mycenaean lords rule from fortified palaces. In Anatolia, the Hittite Empire stretches across highlands and plains. In Egypt, the New Kingdom pharaohs preside over temples whose columns rise like forests of stone. It is a golden age, glittering with wealth and power. But it is also fragile. Drought withers fields. Earthquakes crack walls. New peoples stir on the horizon. A single disruption can ripple through the entire system. And always, on the edge of the desert, towers the Great Pyramid of Giza, already 2,000 years old. To the people of 1200 BCE, it is as ancient as their own world will one day be to us. A reminder that even the mightiest civilizations can fall. The storm comes suddenly. In Anatolia, the Hittite Empire disintegrates. Suppiluliuma II, the last great king, cannot withstand the pressures of famine, rebellion, and foreign invasion. Hattusa, once the pride of the Hittites, is abandoned. Its temples burn, its archives fall silent. 1,000 years of Hittite power end almost overnight. In Greece, Mycenaean palaces meet the same fate. Fires consume Mycenae, Tiryns, and Pylos. Scribes in Pylos write desperate notes about coastwatchers scanning the sea. Within a generation, linear B script disappears. Literacy is lost. Greece descends into centuries of darkness. In the Levant, Ugarit collapses. Its king sends letters pleading for help, enemy ships are here. They set fire to our towns. None arrive. The city is destroyed, its libraries sealed beneath rubble, preserved only by catastrophe. The archives capture a vocabulary of a vanished order, titles for scribes and harbor guards, lists of cedar beams and bread rations, tariffs on tin, rates for hiring ships. The city's last words are logistics. A world does not only end with battles, it ends when ledgers stop balancing and boats do not come. Causes and evidence. Modern data suggest multiple stressors aligned, episodes of drought visible in pollen cores and lake sediments, earthquake storms across the Aegean, disruptions to long-distance trade in copper and tin, and internal palace fragility, elites dependent on far-flung supplies. No single cause explains every ruin. A tightly coupled system failed, a poor harvest in one region cascaded into shortages elsewhere, caravans did not arrive, troops went unpaid, local revolts followed. The late Bronze Age network was sophisticated, and therefore vulnerable. In Egypt, Ramses III faces the invaders known as the Sea Peoples. On the walls of Medinet Habu, colossal reliefs show chariots, ships, and archers locked in combat. Ramses prevails, and Egypt survives, but weakened. The golden age of the New Kingdom is over. Who were the Sea Peoples? They were not a single nation but several groups moving by sea and land. In the southern Levant, one contingent, later known as the Philistines, settled along the coast in a pentapolis, Gaza, Ashkelon, Ashdod, Ekron, and Gath. Early strata show Aegean-style pottery alongside Levantine forms, clues to mixed origins. Over time they adopted local languages and customs, yet their arrival helped redraw the map of the coastal strip. Elsewhere, displaced communities pressed into Anatolia and Cyprus. The collapse was not only destruction, it was migration and resettlement on a large scale. Egypt after Ramses III. Egypt entered the Third Intermediate Period. Power divided between Delta rulers and a strong Theban priesthood. In the 10th century BCE, Libyan dynasties, families long settled in Egypt, took the throne. Shoshenkai reorganized rule in the Delta and campaigned into the Levant. Egypt survived, but it no longer commanded the Near East, it had become one state among many in an Iron Age balance. By 1150 BCE, the interconnected world of the Bronze Age lies in ruins. Empires have fallen, writing systems vanish, trade routes collapse. For many, it is as if history itself has ended. From the ruins, new powers emerge. In Anatolia and northern Syria, Neo-Hittite city-states keep old traditions alive. Carchemish, Melid, and table carve lions and storm gods into stone, preserving memory against the tide of change. Luwian hieroglyphic inscriptions continue the cultural thread of the vanished empire. The Arameans spread across Syria, their language becoming a common tongue of the Near East. On the coast, the Phoenicians thrive. From Tyre, Sidon, and Byblos, they rebuild harbors with massive stone breakwaters. Their ships restitch routes to Cyprus and the Aegean. Copper from Cyprus continues to matter, with towns like Kition acting as hubs. They trade not only goods, but ideas. Their alphabet, simple and adaptable, spreads across seas. It will become the ancestor of Greek and Latin writing, and through them, much of the world's scripts. Alphabet and early expansion. In the 9th to 8th centuries BCE, the alphabet crossed the Aegean. Greek communities adapted it and, crucially, added vowels, turning a trader's tool into a flexible literary instrument. At sea, Phoenician ships stitched new routes. Sardinia and southern Iberia show Levantine goods by the early Iron Age. Tradition places the founding of Carthage in the late 9th century BCE, near the closing years of our period. What collapsed by land was rebuilt by water, harbors, pilotage knowledge, and a shared script. In Mesopotamia, Assyria rises once more. Tiglath-Pileser I pushes campaigns across mountains and coasts, boasting of slaying lions and conquering distant lands. His annals mark the rebirth of Assyria as a major power. After him, rulers such as Ashurdan II and Adad-nirari II stabilize the core and extend control, setting the stage for the later Neo-Assyrian Empire. Statecraft in formation. Assyrian revival was not only campaigns, it was administration. Early forms of provincial governance, royal roads, supply depots, and standardized record-keeping began to take shape in this era and would be refined by later kings. Iron-tipped weaponry and organized infantry made expansion cheaper than chariot warfare. By 900 BCE, an administrative template was in place that later kings scaled into empire. In Babylon, Nebuchadnezzar I restores pride by defeating Elam. Though overshadowed by Assyria, Babylon remains a cultural beacon of Mesopotamia. The Bronze Age had collapsed, but the Iron Age was beginning to stir. In the hill country of Canaan, a new story begins. The highland tribes of the southern Levant, once scattered, crown kings. Saul is the first, but it is David who captures Jerusalem, making it his capital. David's reign becomes legend, warrior, poet, and builder of a dynasty. His son, Solomon, rules in splendor. Around 957 BCE, he builds the first temple in Jerusalem. Rising above the city, it becomes the spiritual heart of the First Temple tradition. Tradition holds that the Ark of the Covenant rests within its inner sanctuary. The temple makes theology into space, outer courts for the nation, inner for the priesthood, innermost for the divine presence. The temple is more than stone. It is identity. In a region of countless gods, the Jerusalem-centered community's devotion to Yahweh sets it apart. From these beginnings, monotheism will take root, spreading across continents in centuries to come. Archaeology and chronology notes. Monumental building at Megiddo, Hazor, and Gezer is often associated with the United Monarchy, yet some scholars date portions to the 9th century BCE. Likewise, Shoshenkai, biblical Shishak, campaigned in the southern Levant around c. 925 BCE, listing towns subdued. Later inscriptions also indicate that Jerusalem and its dynasty were known in the region. The written traditions and the ground record agree on one point: by the 10th to 9th centuries BCE, Jerusalem and its hinterland had entered the political map of the Iron Age. While temples rise in Jerusalem, Greece falls silent. The palaces are gone. Writing is forgotten. For centuries, Greece is poor, fragmented, and illiterate. Archaeologists call it the Dark Age. Yet life continues. Small villages grow around hearths. Farmers till the soil with iron tools, cheaper and stronger than bronze. Communities bury their dead in new ways. Cremation replaces inhumation, pottery decorated with bold geometric lines. The bridge out of darkness. Not all was silence. At Lefkandi on Euboea, a grand building and rich burials in the 10th century BCE reveal elite continuity after the palaces. Contacts with the East resumed, exotic goods and motifs reappear in small quantities. By the 8th century BCE, Greeks adopted a Phoenician-derived alphabet and began to inscribe short texts. Pottery styles, proto-geometric then geometric, chart a steady revival in craft, trade, and urban life. The Olympic Games, traditionally dated to 776 BCE, mark a shared ritual calendar emerging from this recovery. Out of scattered villages, the polis took form. By the 8th century BCE, oral epics were woven into written form. A poet, or perhaps many, known as Homer gave voice to the Iliad and the Odyssey. Through them, the world of Mycenae lived again, even as a new age dawned. Across the Aegean, in the Anatolian highlands, new kingdoms grow. The Phrygians, likely migrants from the Balkans, established their power at Gordion. Early Iron Age levels show planned streets and craft areas, large tumuli, monumental burial mounds, signal dynastic authority. These sites, still visible today, proclaim the strength of a rising kingdom. To the east, the Urartians build a mountain realm around Lake Van. King Menua orders fortresses and long mountain canals feeding vineyards and fields. Their capital, Tuspa, is a citadel of stone, dominating the highlands. Fortresses anchored taxation and storage, projecting order across rugged terrain. By the late 9th to 8th centuries BCE, both kingdoms were regional organizers, one of central Anatolia's plains, the other of highland valleys. Further north, in the Caucasus, the Cimmerians and Colchians prepare to move. These steppe peoples will soon raid into Anatolia, bringing further upheaval. Far east, civilizations follow their own path. In China, the Shang dynasty falls around 1046 BCE. King Wu of Zhou seizes power, introducing the mandate of heaven, the belief that rulers govern with divine approval, but lose it if they rule unjustly. This principle justifies Zhou authority and echoes through Chinese history for millennia. The Zhou construct new capitals at Haojing and Luoyang. Palaces, ritual halls, and bronze vessels inscribed with ancestral records demonstrate devotion to tradition. Their feudal system distributes land to lords, binding them to the Zhou king. Western Zhou institutions. Rule rested on ritual and hierarchy, and fief lords held lands in exchange for service, bronze inscriptions recorded grants and oaths, seasonal rites affirmed royal legitimacy. Ideals like the well-field agrarian order appear in later texts, reflecting a vision of balanced obligations. By the 9th to 8th centuries BCE, regional powers grew assertive, foreshadowing later Zhou decentralization, yet the mandate of heaven remained the grammar of politics. In India, the Vedic age deepens. Priests expand the hymns of the Rigveda. Rituals grow more elaborate, society hardens into castes. Iron tools clear forests, open farmland, and feed growing populations. Material culture and iron. Across the Ganga-Yamuna doab, the painted gray where horizon, c. 1200 to 600 BCE, marks the spread of village networks and early towns. Iron sickles, plow parts, and arrowheads appear alongside Vedic ritual objects. Polity consolidated unevenly, but the building blocks of later states, the Janapadas, were forming. In forest clearings and riverine plains, agriculture expanded, sustaining denser populations and more complex ritual economies. Beyond the great civilizations, other cultures thrive. In Mesoamerica, the Olmecs flourish. At San Lorenzo and La Venta, they create ceremonial centers with plazas, pyramidal platforms, and colossal stone heads. Each head, carved from a single basalt block, may represent rulers, their helmets suggesting warriors or ballplayers. Some weigh over 20 tons. Around 900 BCE, San Lorenzo declined as river courses shifted, leadership and ritual investment moved to La Venta, where an enormous earthen pyramid and planned complexes rose. Jade, obsidian, and basalt moved along long-distance routes linking mountains and lowlands. The Olmec sphere was not a territorial empire, it was a cultural network organized by pilgrimage, ceremony, and prestige goods. Daily life is shaped by ritual. Shamans consult spirits, games are played with rubber balls, jade is carved into sacred forms. The Olmecs are the mother culture of Mesoamerica, their influence reaching the later Maya and Aztec. In Africa, the kingdom of Kush rises in Nubia. By the 9th century BCE, rulers like King Alara established Napata as their capital. Kush blends Egyptian tradition with its own culture. Soon, its kings will rule both Nubia and Egypt. Meanwhile, Libyan tribes press into Egypt, exploiting its weakness. In time, Libyan dynasties will even sit on the pharaonic throne. In Europe, the Urnfield culture dominates central regions. Cremation burials, urns, and fortified hill settlements define society. In Sardinia, the Nuragic civilization builds massive stone towers, Nurig, that still dot the landscape today. By the 9th to 8th centuries BCE, an early Hallstatt world emerged from this base: hilltop settlements, salt exploitation in the Alps, and long-range exchange of metal goods. Europe's Iron Age was not a single event but regional convergences in burial, metallurgy, and fortified settlement. Interlude: Iron in field and forge. Bronze was an elite alloy, tin and copper married by trade and palace control. Iron changes the arithmetic. Common in the earth but stubborn to smelt, it spreads once smiths master bloomery techniques. In workshops from Anatolia to the Ganges plain, the rhythm is the same: heat, hammer, quench, sharpen. A plowshare bites deeper than wood or bronze, opening heavy soils, yields climb. On the battlefield, iron is less glamorous than bronze, yet more abundant. Spears can be issued by the hundred. The balance of power tilts from a few charioteers to ranks of foot soldiers. States reorganize supply, taxes, and training to match the new scale. Technology is not only an idea, it is a sound, the ring of iron on iron. By 800 BCE, the ancient world is reborn. The empires of the Bronze Age, Hittite, Mycenaean, Minoan, are gone. In their place stand new powers, Assyria with its iron armies, the Jerusalem monarchy with its temple, Phrygia and Urartu with their stone monuments, Zhou China with its mandate of heaven, and the Olmecs with their colossal heads. Trade revives under Phoenician sails. Literacy spreads with the alphabet. Iron tools reshape farming, iron weapons reshape war. Cultures old and new weave a new tapestry of history. The Bronze Age ended in fire. The Iron Age rises in resilience. And this is only the beginning. Soon, iron will fuel empires of conquest, Assyria, Persia, Greece. Alphabets will carry laws, literature, and faith across continents. Philosophers will ask questions that echo into our time. The age of heroes is gone. The age of empires has begun. This was Timeline Voyage. Charting humanity's epic journey, one chapter at a time. Because to understand the future, we must first travel the past. Thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed our journey through time, please like the video and subscribe to the channel.